When you retire with $1 million, who can you tell? If you're retiring with $1 million saved or any significant amount of money, one of the smartest things you can do is have a plan about whom you're going to share that information. You've worked hard, you've saved diligently, and you've reached a major financial milestone. But I've seen one honest conversation about we got $1 million saved quietly create issues for families. And it happens to the people you would least expect. Thoughtful savers, careful planners, the ones who did everything right. Hi, I'm Stefano Francesca, certified financial planner professional and senior wealth advisor at Next Step Wealth Management with IPC Securities Corporation. In this video, we're talking about something that doesn't get discussed enough. Who gets to know about your financial situation and how you can go about making those decisions without damaging your relationships. If you find this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps more Canadians see this. Let me paint a picture for you of a couple dealing with this issue, David and Sarah. They retired in their early 60s with just over $1 million saved between their RSPs and TFSAs, plus CPP and OAS coming down the road, as well as a pension. They were proud. They worked hard for a lifetime, lived below their means, and made many smart financial choices. At a family and friends gathering, just a casual dinner, someone asked, "How's retirement going? Were you able to save enough?" David answered honestly, "Yeah, as soon as we got over $1 million, we decided to pull the pin." From his perspective, he was just sharing good news with people he loved. But from that moment onwards, things changed. Their adult children, who had always been independent, suddenly started seeing them differently. One of their kids was trying to buy their first home in the Calgary market, and they needed help with a down payment. Before that conversation, asking their parents for $50,000 would have seemed unreasonable. But now it seemed like a small percentage of what you have. And here's what most people don't understand. When your family suddenly knows you have $1 million saved or a large amount, like it's a surprise, they don't think about it the way you do. They don't see a carefully structured retirement plan with strict withdrawal rules. They see a big number, and in their mind, helping them out is just a small fraction of that big number. The requests started coming, not all at once, not maliciously, but consistently. A loan here, help with a car there, help with the grandkids. Could you cover this family trip? And every time David and Sarah said yes, because as parents, how do you say no when you technically have the money? They were pulling from a lifetime of savings that was supposed to fund 30 years of retirement. What $1 million actually means in retirement. Here's what David and Sarah, and frankly, many people, don't realize until it's too late. $1 million in retirement is not excess wealth. For many retirees, it's just enough. Think about it this way. If you're following a commonly discussed guideline like a 4% withdrawal approach, $1 million may generate around $40,000 per year before taxes, depending on your situation. Now, it has to cover decades of living expenses, rising potential healthcare costs for long-term care, things of that nature as you accelerate with age, inflation eroding your purchasing power every single year, RRIF minimum withdrawals that you're required to take after 71, whether you need the money or not, and unexpected expenses like home repairs or family emergencies. Most significantly, once you stop working, you can't just replace that money if it gets spent. If you're 67 and you give $50,000 to your child for a down payment, that's not $50,000. It's $50,000 plus all the compound growth that money would have generated for the next 20 to 30 years. So while the people around you hear 1 million and think you're wealthy, you're actually managing a finely tuned engine that has to run smoothly for potentially 30 years. And every unplanned withdrawal, every small gift throws that engine off balance. One of the biggest mindset shifts we worked through was reframing how they thought about their money. Instead of viewing it as a lump sum, we treated it more like a self-funded pension. If you had $40,000 a year pension from your employer, would you ask them to give you $50,000 up front so you could help your kids or whatever it is that you need to do with it? Probably not, because you'd understand that doing so would permanently reduce your income for the rest of your life. That's exactly what their 1 million is, a self-funded pension. And every time they pull from it outside of the plan, they're reducing their future income. By the time David and Sarah admitted this all to us, they'd already been helping their kids for 2 years. Small gifts here and there, $5,000 to help with the car, $8,000 to cover some debt, thousands for their veterinary bills, family holidays subsidized by them. Then the big one, $50,000 for the down payment. Each decision felt manageable in the moment. Each time they thought, we can tighten our budget, we'll make it work. But when we sat down and did an honest review, their withdrawal rate had gone from a safe 4% or so to nearly 7%, and they had fully depleted their cash wedge. They hadn't derailed their retirement, but they'd absolutely forced their options. The financial cushion they'd spent decades building now was significantly thinner. And the stress of that realization was taking a toll on them. And here's the hardest part. Because their kids knew they had $1 million, saying no now felt even more difficult. They felt that their children wouldn't understand why help that was available over the last 2 years suddenly wasn't anymore. It created tension, resentment, and guilt on both sides. I see this often. Retirees who did everything right, who saved diligently, who built a solid plan, end up later in retirement with less security than they should have. Not because of market crashes or bad investments, but because of emotional spending driven by family expectations. If you're within a few years of retirement, or you're already retired, and you're wondering whether your plan can actually withstand the pressure that comes from family knowing your number, you can use the link in the description if you'd like to have a conversation about your own situation. Because here's the reality. Once people know what you have, you can't take that information back. The expectations are set. Every year you wait to get proper structure around your finances is another year where your plan is vulnerable to these kinds of requests. If you're looking to help family out without jeopardizing your own retirement, wouldn't it be better to know how much you can actually provide? Privacy versus transparency. Instead of being completely private and wondering how others are going to perceive your situation, many successful families are more proactive and use family meetings to alleviate those potential issues. If you're more of the open type, which I sincerely hope that most families can be, you can use formative, occasional, or ongoing family meetings as learning opportunities. You've done so many good things regarding your finances. You've been disciplined, you've had a plan and followed it, you've lived within your means, you've managed tax, followed an investment philosophy, and set your family up. You're a living example of financial success that your family can learn from. Why keep that all a secret? Rather than being completely closed about your finances to your family, you can work with your family over time and leverage your financial advisor to share your experiences and create a real financial legacy. This isn't just about estate planning or estate transference. It's about attitudes, decision-making, and handing down financial wisdom. Regular family meetings about money set the stage for success by openly setting boundaries, creating buy-in from the entire family, and transferring values about money in a transparent forum. Maybe with the right attitude, some of this discomfort and vulnerability for Dave and Sarah could have been avoided. It's not just family. Once your friends know you have money, the dynamics shift there as well. David and Sarah noticed that at dinners, suddenly everyone was comfortable with them picking up the tab. When group trips got planned, there were comments like, well, you guys are retired and comfortable, you can afford it. And some friends became too comfortable with their money. Others became uncomfortable around them. Money introduced scorekeeping that was never there before. And beyond friends and family, they became a target for advice. David's brother-in-law had an investment opportunity. A neighbor suggested they buy a rental property. Someone at church recommended their nephew who does financial planning. Most of this advice wasn't malicious. People genuinely thought they were helping. But none of these people understood Dave and Sarah's specific situation. None of them knew about their plan, their risk tolerance, or their income needs. And following well-meaning but inappropriate advice can be just as dangerous as market volatility. How to protect what you've built. So what should David and Sarah have done differently? And what should you do if you're in a similar position? First, keep private or have a plan to share. Being private doesn't mean lying. It means being intentional about who actually needs to know. Your spouse? Yes. Your financial planner? Absolutely. Your kids and grandkids? Potentially. Your siblings? Maybe. In the big picture, friends don't need a dollar figure to love you or respect you. If someone asks about your retirement, you can be vague. We're comfortable, we planned ahead, and we're grateful. Most people will take the hint. If they push, you can redirect. We have a plan and we're sticking to it. How are things going for you? Second, set boundaries early. Before expectations build, if a family member asks for financial help, you can address it without disclosing your net worth. Something like, we have a retirement plan that we need to follow. We're not in a position to help with that. That's just a complete answer. You don't need to justify it with numbers. Third, make decisions based on your plan, not guilt. When faced with a request, don't ask, do we have the money? Ask, is this in our plan? Does saying yes now mean we're saying no later? And are we okay with the trade-off? When requests come up, ask your advisor to run a simulation to determine if your finances can handle it. If you know from the beginning of retirement that family members may need help, build a dollar figure into your plan and test multiple scenarios. David and Sarah eventually learned this, but they learned it after already giving away more than they should have. And while we were able to adjust their plan and get them back on track, it required them to cut back on things they'd been looking forward to, at least until we created a bit of a cushion. Telling people you have $1 million or whatever your number is fundamentally changes how they perceive you, and you have little control about their perceptions. It creates expectations around help and inheritance. It makes you a target for advice and sales pitches, and it puts emotional pressure on you that can quietly erode the financial security you spent decades building. This isn't about being secretive or distrustful. It's about understanding that most people, even people who you love, don't understand retirement finances the way you need to. They see a big number and assume that you have plenty to share. They don't see the inflation, the healthcare costs, the sequence of returns risk, the fact that you're no longer earning employment income. On the other hand, being proactive with family meetings and using selective disclosure can also be beneficial. These meetings give you and your loved ones the opportunity to discuss your values and intentions so that there are no surprises, and that really helps to create healthy boundaries. For many families, these meetings create the basis for a healthy financial attitude and help all stakeholders understand what's yours, mine, and ours. Final thoughts. So financial privacy isn't selfish, and conversely, family meetings with transparency aren't a liability if done properly. Being clear about how you want to disclose your finances is smart, it's proactive, and a healthy part of successful retirement. If you're a Canadian retiree within 5 to 10 years of retirement, and you want to build a plan that protects your financial security while still allowing you to live generously on your terms, not out of guilt or obligation, click the link in the description to book a consultation. We'll walk through your specific situation. We'll look at your income sources, your investment approach, your withdrawal strategy, and how to structure things so that you can help your family when it makes sense, but not at the expense of your own security. Because here's what I've learned after years of doing this. The most successful retirees are the ones who quietly protect their wealth, manage it carefully, make decisions based on their values and plan, and share strategically with those they love and care for. If you want clarity around your retirement income, investments, taxes, and long-term plan, let's take the next step.